What the heck?
Why do they?
Are we talking about football tonight?
We're talking about the Knowles tonight.
That's what I thought.
And just the Knowles.
All right, I think we're probably trying to get down onto her bed. There you go.
It's very unprofessional. Yeah. Yeah, hang on. Hang on.
Okay.
Duty calls.
We gotta have radar cam on this.
Yes.
Just
We need a completely separate webcam, always watching radar.
Hook a webcam up or a GoPro. They make those little vests for the dogs.
There's
Yeah.
a YouTuber that literally got a second webcam so that while he's like live streaming stuff, he can just switch between him and his dog.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Radar, where you going now? Come here. No, that's a.
Dude, who is going to sign Des Bryant? That's what I want to know.
No one.
Which is
Me
kind of crazy,
and-
right?
What team does
Is-
Johnny Manziel play for?
The Montreal Alouettes.
Then that's the team.
Go Alouettes.
Then that's the team.
Like, that's crazy, right? Like, Des Bryant's a really good player.
Yeah, he's the leading all-time leader in receptions for the Dallas Cowboys.
He's crazy though.
He's also crazy. There is that word.
Yeah, that's the main issue.
Yeah.
All right, Chandler, you good?
Mhm.
Keith, Rowe, you good? Keith, are you done vaping yet?
Vape away, vape, 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 vape,
Vape
vape.
away, vape away, vape away.
Are you a vapor?
Dude, Keith hits that jewel all the time, bro.
It's that
I'm
jewel.
alright.
Keith lives on that jewel.
CBD oil in there, dude.
That's all I vape.
They only vape the CBD oils.
I don't even know what y'all are talking about.
That's what all the
Concentrated
kids
CBD
are
oil.
into. All the kids are into the CBD oils. It's supposedly comes from cannabis, but it's not really cannabis. It's I don't know what the hell it is.
Well, this show's off to a great start.
This show's off to a great start.
Yeah, I forgot to tell you guys I was not editing this episode.
Oh, excellent.
Whatever gets said, gets said.
This is just a 3-hour podcast of us just randomly talking about random stuff.
The Knowles, mostly.
But not sports.
Definitely not sports.
We're talking about the academics of the Knowles.
I don't know. We did talk about Des Bryant for about 35 seconds.
We're going to talk about some GPAs, y'all.
We might as well talk about Bengals quarterback Andy Dalton.
Getting a standing O in Buffalo.
I'm looking at Yahoo right now.
That was the best. It's so great. Like, he just took it in stride. He stood there, he applauded and waved. The fans gave him a standing ovation.
That's so funny.
We're going to be talking about the SEC All Academic Team.
Featuring Andy Dalton.
Yes.
Pretty sure
It's
that's not true.
former SEC great Andy Dalton.
All right. Here we go.
Why do heck?
It
Why
just
do-
means more.
Why do heck? It just means more.
It does.
Why the heck? It just means more. What the heck?
Well, that's our intro.
Completely off the rails before we even started.
I'm feeling myself tonight, fellas.
Oh,
Letting
man,
the hair down. Letting the hair down.
Meanwhile, Chandler's just eating white bread.
yep.
Are you really?
Chowing down on napkins.
This is Zaxby's toast, man.
Oh, Zaxby's toast. Well, no. Don't make fun of him. That's some straight up good toast. That's,
Nah,
Soul
dude,
food.
Zaxby's toast is pretty much white bread.
oh,
Soul food
it is-
napkins.
It is white bread.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's just
But it's
white
delicious.
bread that they put near some butter and heat and pretended to toast it.
And you dip it in the Zaxby sauce.
oh, dude.
Now that ain't bad. Hey, look, I ain't gonna lie. Raising Cane's is my favorite fast food restaurant,
I too enjoyed Raising Cane's.
I
but
love it.
Zach's sauce might just be better.
Ah,
No, if we want to have an episode where we just debate chicken tenders, which I think is something we should do, every answer other than Canes is wrong. I just don't have a Canes that I can easily get to.
Yeah, Zach sauce might actually be better.
Start the show before we lose our friendship. What's it do with two of you now?
I'm trying to get the radar cam set up.
Yes. Radar cam.
you're doing it, Peter. He's doing it.
What do I do?
Problem is that radar is just kind of asleep right now, and the
That's all right.
iPad stand isn't really getting anything.
What if I snap into the camera? Wake up!
Here.
Country road.
Radar cam's doing so great. All right, whatever. Here we go. And that's our signal. Ladies and gentlemen, this is running out the clock here on week 0.
Ooh, ominous.
Ooh.
It's not really ominous. It's just kind of what they decided to call this first weekend with Hawaii and Colorado State and all that.
Why do you think they called it
Yeah.
0? Insulting to all those teams.
And like North Carolina Agricultural and Technology School versus Jacksonville State.
Did you see where Rice actually almost lost?
I did not, but that's awesome.
They were playing like Prairie View A&M or some. It was like an FCS team, and first off, the stands were just completely empty. But Rice goes to kick a field
Classic
goal.
Rice.
Rice goes to kick a field goal with no time left on the clock, and as soon as the ball is kicked, the ESPN camera just zooms all the way out, and so you can't see if the ball went through the goalpost or not. And it's like it was the worst camera angle ever.
Thanks, ESPN.
You just kind of see some Rice players like celebrating off in the distance, but it's like it was awful. It's okay. It was week 0 for the cameraman too.
Right, exactly. We got to break the cameraman in.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of like the fall jamboree of like cameramen.
It was just an intra-squad scrimmage for cameramen, more than anything else. I love it. Oh man, we are here on. It's just so satisfying to know that this is the episode that we record where we actually get to talk about football and not just like theoretically what football might be like, what football in our minds and in our hearts kind of resembles. No, we get to actually talk about some of the matchups that are coming up this upcoming weekend. And oh man, it feels so very, very good.
Preach.
So very, very good. These are the things that we've got going on right now. We've got some of the big matchups that the SEC teams are having to face. Some of the teams that aren't going up against cupcake season opening competition. Along with that, we of course are going to be talking about the Noles. They go up against Virginia Tech to start off their season. And since this is a premiere talking about the Noles podcast, we got to talk about the Noles.
That's
along
the first game.
Yeah. Along with that, we also need to discuss, or we're going to make our predictions, and we also bring to the table a few things, and I'm going to remind you guys of this right now.
Thank you.
But we're going to predict the SEC matchups. We're going to predict the Noles. We're going to predict one random matchup that I will announce to the public at the end of the episode before we make the predictions. And, of course, each one of you should bring in one prediction, totally unfounded, that you're just going to go with this week. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it should be a a prediction that like doesn't make any sense or a prediction that is like physically impossible, I guess, but it does need to be a prediction that no one else is making. And that's our hot take, our individual hot takes, because hot takes are dumb. All right. That's the layout for this episode. Let's jump into it. It's running up the clock. Week 0.
Da, 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 da.
Da-da-da-da.
Ba, 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 ba.
No, but seriously, how satisfying was it to hear the CBS the CBS football music last night?
Oh, it's so good. Oh,
Yeah, man. Yeah, I was so satisfied.
And more satisfied than that was being able to hear the CBS sports music and then not be greeted by Gary Danielson right afterwards.
Yep.
Which is perhaps the most satisfying thing of all.
That's the
Gary.
thing. Is hearing the CBS sports music is always great, except for when you get 10 seconds into it and are triggered because you know that Gary Danielson's coming up.
Trigger warning, Gary Danielson.
R.I.P. to Vern's chortle.
Yeah, I'm going to miss Uncle Vern this year.
He had a solid chortle, and it's gone.
Oh,
Yep.
Gary.
Oh,
Bama.
man.
Oh,
No, there was some fascinating games. The stupid Hawaii Colorado State game sucked me in so much more than it should have,
Oh, yeah.
and that was so satisfying. Like the fact that just to have it on and be like, okay, great, yeah, well, there's football on, yay, and then it's like, okay, well, one team's up by 30 points, whatever, and then that other team actually pulls off a bit of a comeback.
Yeah. It was incredible. It got so annoying because I think it was Aaron Taylor calling the game last time. That's his name. And it seemed like every other second he was like, "Oh, Hawaii's brought back the run and gun or the run and shoot or whatever." I mean,
he talked about the run and shoot a lot.
Like if you played a run and shoot drinking game, you would be dead.
Yep.
But to his credit, Hawaii did bring it back, and it was really fun to watch. I mean, it was even when Colorado State is mounting this hilariously epic comeback, and conventional wisdom says, run the ball, run some clock. It was like the Hawaii coach was just playing NCAA 14. Like, man, we're throwing. Who cares? Like, stop the clock. Doesn't matter. Throw it. Go for it.
Yeah, it was
so satisfying.
And it was so great because it very clearly was not working in the late game, and a lot of times let Colorado State have more opportunities to go ahead and make a comeback, but it still was so satisfying. Because what got me is that we've all been pretty open about the fact that this is an SEC podcast for people that kind of hate the SEC, and it's satisfying to watch a game that has no big time national implications.
None.
Game that is just a couple of teams playing the sport the way they would feel like playing the sport. Mm-hmm. And one team was going to win, one team was going to lose, and it wasn't going to be the end of the season for either one of them. And that is it made me remember, oh yeah, that's why I like the sport.
Yep.
These are the moments I can actually enjoy the sport.
Yep.
But, all right, let's not waste any more time talking about things we enjoy and instead talk about the Noles.
Yes. I've been waiting for this all
enjoy.
Oh my goodness. The Florida State Seminoles open up the season against Virginia Tech. And maybe the most interesting thing to me about this is that this game is technically on Monday. So we will actually be recording our second episode because we record on Sunday nights. We'll be recording our second episode before this game actually happens. So
we still got to talk about the Noles.
So anyway, we're talking about the Noles. The Noles come in with a new head coach, with returning healthy players that they did not have last season, but they're opening up against a difficult opponent in Virginia Tech. Gentlemen, that's the Noles. That's all I got. I really didn't prepare, to talk about them, but
I don't know the first thing about that game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's at Florida State. I don't know if it's at Virginia Tech or
it's
whatever.
a neutral site.
It's a neutral site. Even better. Who even cares?
So it's going to be played on the inside of a NASCAR track, right?
Exactly. It's all about 100%. The Noles. I mean, what else do we need to say? It's all about the Noles.
Wait, no, this one's not a neutral site. This one's at Doak Walker. It's in Tallahassee.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
it's even more so about the Noles.
Yep.
Well, then, yeah, that's also true.
No, for real though. Like first game under Willie Taggart, it's at Florida State. You got your team back healthy. You got Cam Akers.
That's his name. I was trying to remember the kid's name from Clinton.
Yeah, go Noles. You
Go
know?
Ers. Go Clinton
Yeah.
Ers.
Yeah, they're gonna win. That's all I got. They're just gonna win.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
nice.
about all I got to say about the Noles. You know,
They're going for broke it doke.
And that'll do it for running out the clock.
Yeah, that's it. We're done here. Don't know what
We're now launching ourselves directly into the sun.
yeah, that's it. Okay, we're not actually going to talk anymore about Florida State, but we will predict that game later on. But it'll be an interesting one to start off the season. I'm glad it's on a Monday night, kind of on its own. Of course, we will all be getting together for our fantasy football draft that Monday night, including Chandler, who will be telecommuting into the.
Forgot that's a thing.
We noticed.
Who won last year?
I believe that would be you.
It was me. I did it. I totally knew exactly what I was doing the whole time.
The whole time. You did it. You did it.
Every week.
You did it. But Virginia Tech, Florida State is a 20 and 19 preseason polls mean nothing, but they're the number 20 and 19 teams in the country. And of course, Virginia Tech has hot young coach Justin Fuente. Notice I called him hot young coach because his last name is Fuente, which
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
anyway, so it'll be interesting to watch. But let's move on to the SEC. The purpose of having this god-awful podcast. 4 matchups in particular are being featured in the SEC this opening weekend that seem pretty interesting, or at least more interesting enough to talk about. I'm going to run through all the matchups real quick. We do have MTSU and Vanderbilt, Northwestern State and Texas A&M, Tennessee and West Virginia, Coastal Carolina and South Carolina, UT Martin and Missouri, Ole Miss, Texas Tech, LSU and Miami, Central Michigan and Kentucky, Austin Peay and Georgia, Charleston Southern and Florida, Auburn and Washington, Eastern Illinois and Arkansas, Alabama and Louisville. And for some reason on my list, I did not have Stephen F. Austin and Mississippi State written down. I'm not really sure why that did not make it on my week 1 list.
Well, that's because State's playing a person. They're not playing a college.
They're playing a basketball team.
That's true.
Yeah, but that person's 75 feet tall.
You ever seen the statue of Stephen F. Austin?
No, that person's name is Steve Austin.
Oh my God.
He's gonna roll.
What's happening?
He's gonna roll into Davis Wade Stadium in a beer.
In a beer truck.
Everybody
Back above his head.
he's going to stun every single person in there. He's going to walk out, double bird salute, championship in hand, and it's going to be over. It's going to be it.
Yeah.
It'll be beer cans raining.
And that's the
down
bottom
stands.
line because Stone Cold said so.
And sadly, he will have forfeited the game because he's only one person and can't field a team of 11
Yeah,
players.
oh yeah.
But it's going to
not
be
gonna-
impressive.
It's not going to mean anything for the record book, but
It's going to be an impressive display.
just like actual wrestling.
Yeah.
Hey, did you know you can bet on wrestling? I did not
Yes.
know that.
I did know
I
that.
learned last night. You can bet on wrestling.
So out of all of those, there are a handful of these matchups that stand out as being more interesting than the others. And we're going to talk about those just a little bit. The first one, or the first two, I feel like are not necessarily interesting enough to warrant huge amounts of conversation. One of them being so uninteresting to me that I seem to have forgotten to have written it down in my outline that I'm following as I moderate this podcast. So we're going to go about that one first, and that would be Tennessee and West Virginia.
I don't think that's interesting at all.
No.
I mean, I think that West Virginia is probably the odds-on favorite to win the Big 12.
Yeah.
They've got a very good quarterback. They've obviously got a great offensive scheme, and I think Tennessee is going to be in a lot of trouble this year. So I kind of just see West Virginia winning that game relatively easily.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why it doesn't necessarily stand out to me as one that warrants much discussion, because even if Tennessee had more talent than they have right now, they're in such a deep transition, and we've talked about that a lot, that, West Virginia is just a more complete team. West Virginia is a more experienced team. Keith, what do you think we're going to see out of Will Grier in this one?
Well, if last year was any indication, he's going to throw 1 billion yards on Tennessee and win the Heisman in week 1.
That's it.
Definitely.
Just go ahead and shut it down.
Yep.
He's going to hand him the trophy right then and there.
Where is that game?
That game is one of the 5 neutral sites of this opening weekend. It's in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay.
Yep. Home of, I believe, some sort of minor league team plays football or something. It's unimportant, but they're up there. So Tennessee, West Virginia opens up. The other one that stands out as being one that most likely will not be much to discuss actually goes the other way in terms of the SEC team involved, and that is Alabama and Louisville opening up play in Orlando. Roe, right now, we, of course, watched Louisville send off star quarterback Lamar Jackson with a bowl loss to SEC team Mississippi State.
I don't think you call that a loss, dude. That was a creaming of them. They got destroyed.
Okay.
What was the final score?
Yeah, I would have called it a loss. It was like maybe a single possession.
It was like 31-28, wasn't it?
I don't remember at all. It's one of the dramatic effect.
It did have the feeling at the end of it felt like a more comfortable win than it actually was, just because at the end, the Mississippi State defense just kind of clicked as a whole and shut everything that Louisville did down. But for most of the game, it was very back and forth. For some, and then other parts, it was, it looked like Louisville was the more powerful team. However, just about everyone's gone there from that Louisville team that was of significant importance. Of course, Lamar Jackson being the main figure there. Louisville has a little bit more questionable this year. So, Roe, I guess the main question is, would Alabama have anything to be concerned about in this matchup?
Well, it seems to me that the boys in Vegas have picked Alabama to win by 25 points. I'm gonna guess no. Those guys in Vegas tend to know what they're doing, and yeah, they're probably going to win by more than that, to be honest. I think Louisville is. I keep trying to say Louisville.
Notice that.
It's okay. It's because you're literate.
I know.
How it's spelled.
I know. And that's another reason too why I think Louisville will lose too. Louisville. Alabama's got nothing to worry about here. Louisville is depleted. Alabama, as we know, has a lot of question marks up and down the roster. Don't know how they're going to be able to step up this year, but let's stop kidding ourselves here. They're going to kill them.
This will be more than likely, because it seemed like everyone was like going into last year thinking, oh man, that Florida State Alabama matchup is going to be one to watch, and then of course Alabama comes out and handles business. Even if Florida State did not have like injuries happen right in that game, Alabama still just controlled it. This is not one of those that I think anyone's going to look at and go, oh yeah, this will be a real test for the Tide. I mean,
it reminds me of a few years ago. I think it was 2014. It was either 14 or 15. I can't remember. Alabama opened the year with Louisville, and no, they opened the year with West Virginia. Auburn opened Louisville. They opened the year with West Virginia, and they beat them pretty bad. But you could kind of look at them and tell, okay, the question marks in their secondary are real. And so I think that if you're going to talk about anything, is Alabama going to lose? No, it probably won't be particularly close. But if they come out and you see Louisville hit some big plays on the secondary, they can throw the ball. Then I think that's going to be something to watch for Alabama as the season goes on, but it's not going to be anything. It's not going to be anything telling for that specific game.
Yeah, most likely we'll be able to see whether or not those defensive quote unquote concerns for Alabama going into this year, and everyone's saying, well, Alabama's going to have to rely on their offense more than usual. We'll see whether or not that's a real story, and that's most likely about it. But either way, I mean, we'll be watching it because it'll be on in prime time.
And it's the Camping World opener, so got to look at those campers.
Doesn't get more prime time than that.
Not at all.
Nope.
Yeah, so it seems like pretty much agree those two games are ones that Obviously, we'll be watching, and we will have a lot to discuss if, for whatever reason, they turn out differently than we seem to think. But we seem to think that right now, the odds are playing heavily into the favorites to win those matchups. So let's look at the first of three in particular that seem like they will bring the most amount of entertainment and to the SEC slate. And the first of those being the Ole Miss Rebels and the Texas Tech Red Raiders meeting up in Houston, Texas. First of all, I don't know if anyone listening to this or if anyone on the show listened to when I talked to my friend Chad Gibbs about Auburn football, but he made the comment about how much he hates neutral sites at the beginning of the season because they're pointless. Because I believe his line, what he said was something about how like what is most interesting about college football are like the campus, environments and tailgating and all of that. And it's like, fans don't really care that much about trying to travel to a neutral site just to watch the game. And like neutral viewers are not going to really be that interested in going to a neutral site in order to watch West Virginia and Tennessee. You know what I mean? Yeah. So anyway, that being said, that's all beside me. But we have Ole Miss and Texas Tech. A quick snippet of what to expect out of Texas Tech is that they are coming off of a season in which Cliff Kingsbury was really trying to keep his job more than anything else. It was not a very good year for them. They ended up winning at the end of the year, I believe, against Texas that pretty much kept him employed. And this is an odd Tech team compared to years past because Tech returns very little on offense as far as their production goes, but actually it seems like they are a stronger defensive team than they are offensive team right now, at least very unproven on offense. I believe new starters on just about every key position. So with Kingsbury again trying to prove that he should stay employed, the question is, and a team with a lot of offensive iffiness to it, Chandler, we've talked about what the Ole Miss Rebels need to do on defense this season to improve off of last year. Is this the best possible way to kind of warm up the defense against an offense that seems to have identity crisis issues going on?
Well, yeah. I mean, when you look at the Ole Miss defense, there appears to be some good news and some bad news coming out of really the position of biggest need on defense, which is linebacker. The good news is the coaching staff feels like they found 3 or 4 guys at linebacker that they can really trust. The bad news is they're almost all true freshmen. So you've got a team that comes in that likes to throw the ball. And that, linebacker's been a weakness for the last 2 years for Ole Miss. And, it's going to be a big question mark if they can improve there. But I also think this game has the potential to be really, really weird and really, really different because I think everybody's coming in and they look and they see the reputation that Texas Tech has as a team that loves to throw the ball. They're going to throw it all over the yard. They're going to just, hurry up, just go fast. Same deal with Ole Miss. You've got all those receivers. You've got the tight ends. You've got the good offensive line. The court. You've got all that kind of stuff. And then both teams have questionable defenses. I actually think that both teams are probably going to come out and try to run the ball. Texas Tech has got an experienced returning running back that apparently just got cleared for some felony charges or something. It was weird. I'm not really sure what happened there. But then Ole Miss is going to try to show off. Ole Miss is going to try really hard to show off Scotty Phillips, and if you guys are familiar with Metro Jackson area high school football, Tylen Knight, who was the player that kind of made everything go for Pearl last year, winning a 6A state championship. He's really been turning some heads. So I think Ole Miss is probably going to try to run the ball. Now, I mean, obviously they're going to. Obviously, you've got AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, DeMarcus Lodge. Like you're going to get the ball to those guys. But I think that if Ole Miss can come out and establish a run, then that's going to do them a lot of good because that kind of takes some pressure off of that really questionable defense, especially those questionable linebackers. But yeah, I mean, I think if Tech's got any sense at all, they're going to come out. They're going to go right at those linebackers. and they're going to make Cavante Ruggs and Jonathan Hess and Momo Sinago. They're going to make those guys really show that they know what they're doing, and they're freshmen and sophomores. They probably don't. So I honestly don't know what to expect from that as far as just how the game itself goes. I think Ole Miss does win. Not just super confident about that, but I think they do just because the experience they have on offense. But it's gonna be I think it's got the potential to be a pretty crazy game.
Yeah, it certainly does, and that's what I looking through the list made me pause for a moment and go, "Oh wow, yeah, that looks like that could be very, very entertaining," because it seems like two teams that have something to prove, that want to make a statement out of the gate in week one. Keith, we were looking at the odds, the early point spread odds in particular. This is, of course, being recorded on a Sunday night before the week occurs, so those odds are subject to change as the week goes on. But open it up right now. Texas Tech are actually 2.5-point favorites over Ole Miss. And knowing what we know about Tech, just looking over their previous season, they had to beat Texas last game of the season to be bowl eligible, and then they lost a bowl game against number 23 South Florida. So if you've got a team that opened up the season 3 straight wins, then a loss, then a win, then had 4 losses in a row before beating Baylor, losing to TCU, and beating Texas, does it make sense to you, Keith, between these two teams to actually say that Texas Tech is the favorite here?
Yeah, Texas Tech being a 2.5-point favorite doesn't make any sense. They have a decent defense, but they got questions at quarterback, and they just lost one of their top wide receivers. And Ole Miss has one of the most explosive offenses in the country. I mean, they probably have the best wide receiving core in the country. Sure, their defense leaves a lot to be desired, but I just don't see how Texas Tech keeps up with them for a full game, especially at a line that close. I don't know.
Any line that's less than 3 points typically is saying that the game is even.
It's just a wash.
Yeah,
it's almost a pick 'em,
even given a little bit of favor to the team with the perceived home field advantage.
Yeah, I think Ole Miss wins by at least 7 here, honestly.
All right, Ro, how about you? We're looking at a proven offense with a defense with something to prove, and a Texas Tech team that, by all accounts, seems to have a lot to prove on both sides of the football. They do have a little bit more returning on defense that they feel comfortable with. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's a great defense, but you've got a team that comes in, one team that has a very clear identity of, we know we have a high-powered offense, and another team that is looking for a lot here. Texas Tech opens up against Ole Miss, then has Lamar, and then it's Houston, at Oklahoma State, West Virginia, TCU, Kansas, Iowa State, Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas State, Iowa State, TCU, Kansas State, Oklahoma State are the 4 road games. Not a very kind schedule here, but what would Texas Tech, you think, need to do in order to, be able to beat the Rebels and have, a good start to what will most likely be another probably 6-6 type of season?
Well, long gone are the days of that pirate head coach, Mike.
I miss him.
I think all of Texas Tech misses him too. I think they have. I mean, they haven't been relevant. They haven't really been good at all since his departure, and that's probably been 10 years ago, not longer. I'm not even going to look it up. It's been a long time ago. That I would honestly say, you asked me what's it going to take for them to have a 6-6 season. Well, don't laugh, please, but defense is kind of the key here, because I think everybody said that. I don't know. I mean, Texas Tech was at the near bottom of the Big 12 last year in defense, and in reality, they made enough in 2016 and 2017 to move the needle a little bit. But are they going to actually move that needle an even bigger way to be competitive for the Big 12 title or something like that? Probably not. Texas Tech, unfortunately, I don't know. I don't see them being very good. I don't see them being very efficient. However, they do have a good offense, so I'm excited about watching a nice, high-scoring offensive game between Ole Miss and the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Um, I do miss the old days of Mike Leach, where it's just throw the ball as much as you can and hopefully nobody picks you off. He runs such an awesome offense, but I think in terms of them winning this game, I'm actually going to say that that they are going to win this game, just basically because they're in Houston and it's kind of a field advantage for them. But give them that edge. Why not?
I don't know if it is much of a home field advantage. I don't really know. I mean, I guess it is kind of because it's in the same state, but
Yeah.
But like Lubbock is like kind of North Texas, and Houston's
no
definitely
idea where
not.
Lubbock is.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, I think Lubbock is not really. I'm going to actually Google it real quick to make sure, but I want to say Lubbock is kind of close to like the Panhandle area.
Okay.
I'm Googling. Yeah, a little bit. It's definitely closer to New Mexico than it is to Houston.
What a ridiculous state.
Texas is absurd. Texas is absurd. Jeez.
Every time I drive to that state, I see that sign that says 1,000 miles or whatever it is to San Antonio. It's like, oh my God.
What am I doing?
What have I done? What have I done? Why am I going this direction?
Oh, man. Yeah, Texas Tech has been in a decline ever since 2009. 2009, I believe, is when they had about 10 wins, almost whatever it was. 2010, they dropped back down. I forget exactly how many wins it was. It was a good season. 2010 is when the drop happens. 2011, they're not doing well. They bounced back a little bit 2012, but then 13, 14, 15, 16, and now 17 have been firmly in mediocrity. And of course, like you were just saying, Ro, they're a team that has a very offensive history, not offensive history, an offensive history. And so it's odd to come into a year in which they feel like they have more questions on offense than they do on defense. This is going to be I think this will be a good test in particular to see whether or not Ole Miss is really building on the way they finished the season against Mississippi State. Because, I mean, they return a lot of talent from there. I know they lost some defensive guys, all that, but they're returning quite a bit of talent. And it seems like this is a good chance for them, being the SEC team here. So we're focusing on them to come out swinging and say, okay, look, don't take us for granted just because we were in trouble and we had the bowl ban and whatever it may be.
Well, and I think this game is going to be a pretty good indicator of where Ole Miss is headed in this particular season, because throughout the whole Hugh Freeze era, Ole Miss really struggled to run the ball, and they had some good running backs. I mean, Jordan Wilkins last year was, I think, only like the fifth player in Ole Miss history to rush for 1,000 yards. But Ole Miss always kind of had, under Hugh Freeze, they kind of had those little, kind of 5'8", 165-pound burners who, they never could really run the ball, and that was even with pretty good offensive lines. I mean, obviously, you go through and you look at the names. I mean, there's some really talented players that were on those offensive lines, and they just couldn't generate anything running the ball. And I think a lot of that had to do with Freeze's offensive scheme, because when you're in high school, you can pull your guards on every play, but in college you can't. And Hugh Freeze, I don't think, ever quite realized that. But somewhere,
it's odd that a coach that really had very little college experience and had a lot more high school experience would struggle to learn that.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. But at some point last season, about halfway through the year, Ole Miss kind of made a noticeable attempt to really, to kind of implement a power running game, and Jordan Wilkins kind of went off after that.
He fit that mentality perfectly.
He fit it great. I think Scotty Phillips is a guy who's in a very similar mold. So if Ole Miss comes out and tries to and has success in actually running the ball, and getting some power on the offensive line, then I think that tells you kind of where their offense will kind of end up standing. Because, I remember being at games against like Presbyterian and South Alabama where, that's why Chad Kelly tore his ACL against Georgia Southern, was because Ole Miss could not generate anything on the ground to kind of salt that game away, and Kelly had to stay in and play the whole game, and ends up hurting himself. So if Ole Miss can come out and establish a run against Texas Tech, that's by no means running on a great defense, but it is. If you can run on Texas Tech, you probably you'll be able to run in your 4 non-conference games. You'll be able to run on Vanderbilt. You'll be able to run on Arkansas. So you'll be able to get something going, and if you can run the ball, especially with those receivers and that quarterback, then you're gonna be really good.
It's a great setup. Yeah, it's a great way to open the season because it's not their most difficult opponent, but it's not their easiest opponent. So, it gives them a good test of whether or not what they've been working on, whether or not Matt Luke, who apparently wants to really push that power running game a lot more, whether or not it's all coming together for him. So it'll be a good test, and I'm very, very interested to see.
And it'll be fascinating to see either fan base after a loss. I think you could see, if Ole Miss loses that game, you're going to have a whole bunch of people that are wondering, was Matt Luke really the right decision? Which is kind of ridiculous, seeing as it'll be his first game as the full-time coach. And then, if Texas Tech loses, I think you'll see a Texas Tech hot board for their coaching search up, by 4:00 on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's always fun to watch Ole Miss fans after any loss.
Yeah, I am an Ole Miss fan, and I agree with you.
It's just one of the most amazing and terrible things about the social media age is being able to watch all sports fans on social media
in real time.
Yeah, in real time. It's horrifying. Just absolutely horrifying. But yeah, so this will be an interesting matchup for sure, and we will get around to our predictions later on in the broadcast, in the recording session. But as for now, we're going to move on to another one of the more interesting matchups. Another SEC team that has a lot to prove, of course, being the LSU Tigers. Can they try to we've talked about how difficult their schedule looks this year. We've talked about how ridiculous their quarterbacking, quote-unquote, situation. I don't know if you can call it that anymore. It's kind of just like the quarterback burial grounds down in Baton Rouge.
Yep.
We talked a lot about that. They need to come out against a very, very difficult Miami opponent who also is trying to prove that they are something decent under Matt Richt. They're coming in with a preseason top 10 ranking. And so it's two teams, like Miami's trying to prove that they deserve a top 10 preseason ranking. Again, preseason polls are meaningless. And LSU's trying to prove that they, will survive this year.
That they didn't make a colossal mistake in hiring a barely literate Trent boat captain.
And so right now, this is not a great way, it seems like, to start the season for LSU. But if there's anything to look at in regard to this, it's that Miami brings in a starting quarterback who fans had kind of soured on by the end of last season. He is a fifth-year veteran quarterback, but did not finish the season well. Fans starting to sour on him, and there's been some recruits that have shown out well. So there's questions about whether or not Miami will actually have the same quarterback. That's kind of the biggest story, it seems like, coming out of Miami right now. Otherwise, they're ranked 8th. They want to prove that they deserve to be ranked 8th. Keith, we're going to start with you on this game. What do you think that we're going to see in this weirdly timed matchup, being that it's in Arlington, Texas, so a real neutral site that's not close to anything other than Louisiana? I don't understand these neutral sites, but it's on a Sunday, which is bizarre to me as well. So LSU and Miami and Arlington on a Sunday. Keith, what do you think we will see in this sort of matchup?
Well, weird game time, weird place to play. It's going to be a really weird game.
It just is.
Like you mentioned, the quarterback situation in Miami is really weird. There are a lot of people thinking that that there's going to be a quarterback swap really early in the season. Rick's one of those guys that loves the older veteran guy who has been in the system. But I think he's going to have a short leash on him. But right now the line is a +3 to LSU. So Miami's giving up 3 points. I don't see how it's going to be anywhere near that. That line's going to change.
Line? I hadn't even looked it up yet. That's the line?
Yep.
Miami's giving up 3. So I don't. Again, like the Ole Miss game, that line's going to change probably Friday or Saturday, big time. With all of LSU's questions, Miami returns a strong team. It's not going to start out well for the old Bayou Bengals.
You Bengals.
Wait, did you say that? I thought you said that LSU was favored. Miami is favored by 3.
Favored by 3.
Yeah.
My bad. I misunderstood. That's what I mean. It still seems like it should be more, but I misunderstood what you said.
Yeah. No. Miami's the clear favorite here.
Okay. All right. Good. That's what it was. That's why I was so astounded. Man, so strange.
Yeah. No, it's like, what game was it a few years ago where like LSU played Oregon in like Dallas, and that was a quote unquote like neutral site game or something? Like, who the heck schedules these?
I don't know.
Yes,
I will give them this. Yeah, I will give them this. Arlington and Dallas area has much more in common with North Louisiana than it does Southeast Louisiana. So it won't be much of a home game for LSU in that regard, just culturally speaking. But all right, we got Miami. Miami was one of those weird situations in which they were able to get a coach. I guess the Mark Richt situation is one of those weird situations that worked out well with both teams involved. Georgia gets Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart turns out to be the right guy there, it seems. Mark Richt goes home to his alma mater, ends up apparently being the right guy, which I thought it was a good hire to begin with because he's a kind of a character coach, and Miami badly needed that.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, Miami is in the process of trying to become again one of the top teams in the country under Rick. Right now, where do you think Miami stands under Mark Richt at this point? The U. Do you think that preseason number 8 ranking is something that they deserve to have?
I think so, just based on what they did last year. Unfortunately, they finished last year not great. They got they really did get creamed by Clemson, not Louisville and Mississippi State.
Right.
They really did. They got creamed by Clemson like 38-3 or something like that, and then they lost to Wisconsin in the Orange Bowl.
Yeah, and even before that, they lost to Pitt.
They lost to Pitt.
Into the season with 3 losses.
But they finished 10-3, including a 7-1 record in the ACC, and they don't lose a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
They lose just the regular pieces that you would expect of a team, any team or whatever. So it's not like there's this huge turnover there. I think they're in terms of where Miami is as a program. I mean, yeah, I think they deserve to be up there. Number 8 seems a little high, but probably top 10 just because of the conference. I think Clemson is ranked ahead of them, and then below them, I'm guessing is Miami, and then below them is, I'm guessing, Florida State.
Talking about the Noles.
The Noles, and those are the 3 big powerhouses, I guess, in the ACC this year. So will Miami finish around there at the season? Who knows? Will they beat LSU? I really don't know. It's just because of this stat. Let me read you this real quick. Miami is 1-7 out of their conference in their last 8 neutral site games, and 0-4 in their last 4 games overall, while the under is 5-1 in their last 6 games against the SEC. I mean, they are playing LSU, but they're playing at AT&T Stadium, Arlington, or whatever. It's going to be a weird game. I think Keith said that. It's going to be tough to pick who's going to come out in this. I had originally thought Miami's going to kill them, but LSU is a strange team. I would go back to the year of Billy Cannon in a game they should not win ever, and yet they do. And it's like that's the LSU. That's how LSU survives on weird, backwards swamp stuff. Whether it be magic or some weird Gator rituals, I don't know.
It's voodoo.
I don't know. It'll be an interesting game. I'm leaning towards Miami still, but that's interesting to me. The neutral site games for Miami, not in their favor whatsoever.
No, it's weird. That is a very, very bizarre stat. You should be hired as one of those guys that pulls up the obscure stats on an ESPN broadcast.
This is what I do in fantasy. I just look for weird things like this, and I pick based upon, I don't know, what Des Bryant ate for lunch on Saturday.
You should just make stats up.
Yeah. Yeah, you might have. We don't know if any of that was real.
I just made it all up. Suckers.
Welcome to the new segment on Running Out the Clock called Roe Makes Stuff Up.
Hashtag Gator Rituals.
It's called Two Truths and a Lie with Roe Hunter.
2 truths, 2 lies.
Miami, very weird team, of course. They were on that 10-game win streak, got all the way up to number 2 in the country before losing 24-14 at Pitt. Get blown away by Clemson, and then beaten by Wisconsin by 10 in the Orange Bowl. Miami, that's really the 3 games that got their starting quarterback under fire from fans. And so if we look at that position, yes, there's questions there, but mainly that was just a setup so we could go over to a new segment on ROTC called Chandler Talking About LSU Quarterbacks that I plan on being a weekly thing. Chandler, LSU is having just a whale of a time with their quarterbacks this year. I think there's even been more news since we last recorded an episode. So what can we expect out of those LSU QBs in this Miami matchup?
Oh, gosh. I mean, talking about weird stats. I mean, I think it was after the news of Justin McMillan and the most aptly named LSU quarterback ever, Lowell Narcisse. After they announced their transfer, I saw a stat where something like 15 or 16 quarterbacks have transferred out from LSU since 2005. That's not good. And so, just going with the theme that we keep coming back to this game is that it's weird. You're gonna see Joe Burrow play. You don't bring a guy in, kind of last minute like that as a grad transfer and then expect him to not play. So Joe Burrow is going to play. And I have no idea. I mean, I don't. But I mean, that's appropriate because every time you look at the LSU quarterback situation, you just kind of look at it and you say, I have no idea. Because even in a lot of these quote bad years that LSU has had, they're still winning 8, 9, 10 games with literally nobody at quarterback. I mean, nobody. And so I think that we keep saying this game is weird, that these teams are weird. I think weird favors LSU. As much as I have been on here just dogging the crap out of them and just ripping Ed Ogeron, all that kind of stuff. I think weird kind of favors them because I think Miami's going to come in. Miami's going to come in feeling a lot of pressure. They're going to be number 8. It's going to be this, big deal, all this kind of stuff. And if Joe Burrow is halfway decent in this game, I think Dave Aranda and that LSU defense, even though we don't necessarily know a ton of their names yet, I think that's still going to be a really talented defense. I think
we're probably not going to be able to pronounce a ton of their names.
Not a single one of them, because the only guy whose name you could ever pronounce, Arden Key, is gone.
Right.
His name was easy. It was Key. Like that. You use the word Key every day. Devin White, you got him. But yeah, I still think Miami should win. Because Miami's more experienced, they're more stable, they're not coached by a moron, and and yet there have been so many times watching LSU in general, where it's just weird stuff happens and they win. Yeah. And so they might come out, if we're talking about this game next Sunday, or I guess this game's gonna be played next Sunday. So if we're talking about this game whenever it is happening, I don't even know. We're going to talk about it, and it's somehow LSU won 1-0. You're going to be like, I don't know how it happened, but it makes sense. So all that to say, I don't know what's going on with their quarterbacks. I'll put it this way: if it was another year and they had a proven wide receiver target to go to. Or if they had a proven ground game, proven running backs, and then you can see a guy like Burrow coming in and really, really just running the team well, making the plays he's got to make, but really just kind of going in there and not turning the ball over. But he's going to have to go in, I think, right off the bat and be and really kind of be a playmaker and be a guy who can really make stuff happen. And I just don't know if a guy who was backing up Tate Martell at Ohio State is going to be the guy that's going to go in and make all those plays.
Yeah, exactly. And what you just said, I think, is what really defines LSU's offense. Not necessarily where they are in the quarterback position, but the fact that they don't have anything else that's really established. They've built, so much success off of having a great offensive line and good running backs, or great offensive line, good running backs, and good enough wide receivers. Because you even go back to their 2007, 2008 national championship. That is a solid. It's a great defense, and then you've got a solid enough wide receiver core, running back core, and you've got the last time they had a good quarterback in Matt Flynn, and Matt Flynn he had the tag of I don't think it's an insult. I think we treat it as an insult, but you always talk about it as as hating to use the term, and I agree with you on that, of the game manager quarterback. And Matt Flynn was the king of that. He just didn't turn the ball over. He didn't really make mistakes. He was never going to blow you away with his play, but he was good enough to do that, and they win a title that way.
And the Seahawks gave him $1 billion.
Right, exactly. Just to be like, oh, my bad, we got Russell Wilson. I'll see you, dude.
Well, and I keep coming back to this with LSU. The last few years, with the exception of the Mississippi State game, because Mississippi State just seems to blow them out now. The last few years,
which is not supposed to happen.
It doesn't make sense. But the last few years, as I've looked at LSU and I've looked at games, you know what, they really shouldn't win this game, and they do, and they just do. And it doesn't make sense. And
doesn't at all.
Usually what it is just great defense and then something weird happening on offense. And if that happens against Miami, I'm not going to be surprised.
Right. Exactly. Again, voodoo. What was it? Gator magic. What did you call it, Ro?
Gator magic.
You could call it Gator magic too. Either or. Who knows? Who knows? See, LSU, they always have these little Jarvis Landrys, and they got these little Odell Beckham Juniors, and these Zach Beckenbergers. Try and say all that 3
times. You
times.
didn't even say his name right.
I can't.
That said it right enough.
That wasn't even close.
Zach said it right enough.
Cheeseburger.
That's
Jack
Cheeseburger.
Jack Burger. No, they usually skirt by. You ask why they win all these games, because they have incredible talent like Jarvis Landry or Odell Beckham. Those guys were on the same team, and they didn't even get close to a national championship. Those guys are prolific wide receivers in the NFL, but because LSU is so into their swamp magic and not into developing quarterbacks, that they passed up on craziness like 2 incredible talents that are are going to be in the history of the Hall of Fame for the NFL. And I don't know, LSU. I could never be an LSU fan if I had to choose. LSU would be the last one I picked. They're so frustrating to watch. I couldn't. It's too much for me.
Hey, but they never lost a party.
Oh, that's true, baby. Hey, man.
That, I mean, and it would be worth being an LSU fan just for the tailgating food, I think.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's unbelievable.
That's true.
Have some alligator etouffee just all over the place.
It's also the original Raising Cane's right there off campus. So
Yeah. Love Raising Cane's. Favorite fast food restaurant.
it's delicious.
It's chicken tender mecca.
we need to make a pilgrimage, guys.
I'm,
There you go.
I'm in it.
I think Keith's leaving right now.
Yep.
Oh,
Bye.
So real quick, let's just run down the line on this one in regards to that point spread that has been set. We said it was all of 2 points in favor of Miami.
Three.
3 points, yes. Keith, I'm trying to remember what you said about it, but did you say you thought that was accurate or ridiculous? That's all I want. It's just an estimate of whether or not you agree with that point spread. Keith?
Disagree. I think it's going to change a lot over the next week, leaning more heavily towards Miami.
All right, Ro?
I'm thinking that it's going to bump up. I think they're going to put Miami at +5. That's what I think. Or I'm sorry, I think they're going to put LSU +5, and I think Miami's probably going to win. I'm more than likely. I think they're going to.
Yeah, Chandler. But what about you?
I think I agree with Roe. I think it'll move a little bit in favor of Miami, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the game itself, but you remember, you got to remember those betting lines are set up to get even money on both teams, and
yeah,
I think moving it a little bit in favor of Miami is going to make sense, but yeah, I don't feel good about it either way.
No, that's the best way to summarize this game. I don't feel good about it either way. Love it. The last game we want to talk about in detail here is the biggest matchup of the opening weekend, especially in the SEC, but just kind of in general. You've got the Auburn Tigers, the defending West champions, runners-up in the SEC, losing to the eventual national champions, University of Central Florida. And
Go Golden Knights.
Go Golden Knights. And you've got the Washington Huskies. I almost said Cougars by accident, and I want to apologize to anyone in Washington for getting your two mascots confused. But you got Washington. They are coming out in a season that they're coming off of a bit of a down season, but a year that they pretty much return everyone of importance, including getting some players back from injury. And they're looking like a team that is poised to make another push to for a playoff spot once again. They, of course, were in the playoffs just a couple of seasons ago and ended up losing to Alabama there. Could not make it last season, but they return Jake Browning, who I really thought would be gone by now, but as it turns out, he has been playing for the past 7 years. He's got that J.J. Redick effect where he just is always there. They got quarterback Jake Browning coming back. They got Myles Gaskin on the verge of becoming Washington's all-time leading rusher. They've got a huge offensive line. And so, Ro, we're going to start with you here. All right, we've got this matchup with maybe the most physical offensive line outside of the SEC in terms of Washington has two players that are on their starting line that I believe are 6'7" and 6'8". So they're just freaking huge. So you got a massive offensive line. I'm sorry, I talked right over you.
No, I was just agreeing with you. It's enormous.
You got a massive offensive line going up against Auburn's highly touted defensive line. Do you think that that's the story here in this particular matchup? Or are you looking at something else to kind of be the marquee matchup in this Washington versus Auburn?
Oh, buddy, do I. Oh, buddy, dude. No, I'm not concerned about them. Two talented teams, big up front on both sides of the ball out for both teams. In the end, I see two things that can separate these two teams. First,
Number one.
this is a de facto home game for Auburn.
Yeah.
A lot of my I grew up in Atlanta, and a lot of my high school friends went to Auburn. I never understood it. It's like, why are you going there? But anyways, another story for another time. The Tigers will have an overwhelming fan support in Atlanta compared to the Huskies because it's literally 7,000 miles away. Perhaps more importantly, and this is where I think, moving to my second point,
Number two.
Auburn is a little bit more secure on special teams. Yeah.
Ooh.
This is going to be one of those types of game. Special teams. Say it again there, my friends. Special teams. I think
Did you actually want us to say that with you, or
no, just in your mind recording.
Okay.
Good, because I wasn't saying it.
no? We definitely were not.
Well, now you've talked about it, now you got to say it. So
Nope.
you're lost. Not mine. I didn't do it. You did it. The Tigers trust redshirt freshman and place kicker Anders Carlson. He's an elite prospect coming out of high school, and the brother of a longtime Auburn kicker Daniel Carlson.
Yeah.
The Huskies, meanwhile, are still a little unsure if they can trust Van Soderberg. What a great name! And he had a lot of struggles last season. Apparently, I didn't really keep up with Washington football last year. I'm gonna be honest, but it's gonna be such a tight game. This is one of those games at the very beginning that, both teams are still trying to figure out kind of who they are, trying to figure out what's going to look like going forward. And I think that's going to be the difference. So I'm going to lean towards Auburn in this one and pick them. I think the spread's only like 2.5 or 2 points or something like that in favor of Auburn. I think that's right. But
Yeah, Auburn's a 2.5 point favorite.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which, as we mentioned earlier, is basically a pick 'em, but they don't want to say pick 'em, sort of a thing. Yeah. Chandler, another one of the big time matchups here is between Auburn's, experienced pocket passing gunslinger Jarrett Stidham, coming in poised for another good season. As we've mentioned before, Auburn teams seem to really, really find success when they have someone that they can rely on at the quarterback position, maybe more so than a lot of other teams do. And it really shows. But Washington brings in a secondary that is very experienced, and a lot of people are considering to be one of the best overall secondaries in the entire country. What do you think we're going to see out of Jarrett Stidham going up against that highly, highly experienced secondary of Washington?
Yeah, I think he's going to be tested early. I think especially as a lot of the concern or the question for Auburn coming out this year has been, okay, who's their running back? Who are their guys that they can really trust to carry the ball and to do that? I'm kind of like probably most people in the South that I don't pay just a ton of attention to Washington. Although I love Chris Peterson, I love what he did at Boise State. I think he's doing a good job at Washington. They've already, as we mentioned, they've already been to the playoff once, and they just got a lot of good things going for them. But I think it's just kind of one of those classic, strength on strength matchups where Stidham he's coming in with some experience. Last year I think he started the year slow, but that's kind of to be expected with transfer quarterbacks, guys that come in. Right off the bat, there's always an acclimation period. It takes him some time. And, by the end of the season, he was really, really good. And, I expect him to continue that. But also, I don't know that he's going to face another secondary like that for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to be really, really intrigued to see how that goes. And, don't have any way of possibly giving a prediction for what I think happens there. But I think that's going to be really, really interesting to see.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I probably, out of the four of us, I think it's safe to say I paid the closest attention to Washington football in that my in-laws live in Washington. So I watch games with them when I visit. And that's probably more than the rest of us.
That's way more than me.
Yeah, they're a very good team. They're coming into this game ranked number 6, Auburn's number 9. So you got a top 10 matchup I mean, to start off the year, which is always exciting. Keith, we're getting into this game here. A game that has, or two teams that have some questions surrounding them. Chandler just mentioned Auburn not having an established runner, even though Auburn has had 1,000-yard runner for each of the last 9 seasons, which is still just an insane stat to me.
Mm-hmm.
The only other team to have done that over each of the last 9 seasons is Boise State, where Washington coach Chris Peterson came from. So there's one of those random facts. But you've got an Auburn team that needs to establish a run game. You've got a Washington team that needs to basically prove that Jake Browning is still a good quarterback. He threw 43 touchdowns 2 years ago. Threw and ran for 43 touchdowns 2 years ago and only got 19 last year. And he doesn't really have proven receivers. So going into this matchup, you got two teams that need to prove something. Auburn needs to prove they can run the ball. Washington needs to prove they can throw the ball. Do you think either of these teams have a better chance at making that, at driving that point home?
Yeah, I think given the strengths and weaknesses of both teams, I think Auburn has a better chance of establishing a run game than Washington does of establishing a superior passing game. It's Washington did well with their quarterback not doing great last year, but that Auburn defense is just going to be so tough, and it's going to be hard to get around that period. I don't care what kind of chip he has on his shoulder or like how they game plan. That's a tough matchup. It's a more favorable one for Auburn's ground game.
All right. So you're going with the Auburn ground game here as being the one of the things that you think, could more quickly establish itself. You have to excuse me. Special guest on the pod tonight. 10-week-old puppy Radar O'Reilly has woken up from her nap and was trying to crawl under my chair, and I got distracted trying to make sure she wasn't chewing on any power cables, as puppies tend to do.
Classic Radar.
Classic Radar. Quick shout out to former Washington quarterback and current Colorado State quarterback KJ Carter-Samuels for having a phenomenal opening weekend against Hawaii. All right, boyos, we have talked about the Noles. We've talked about the big SEC matchups. We need to talk about making some predictions now. The best part of running out the clock, where we run down and make our predictions and then make noises of exasperation at what each other says when we make our predictions. Oh, yeah, exactly. Everyone start practicing those right now. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to predict the SEC matchups. We're going to predict the Noles matchup. We're going to predict one random matchup. And then I'm going to toss it over to you boys to round out the episode with your completely unfounded predictions of the week. And we're going to call it a wrap on this one. So here we go. First and foremost, we are going to look at the Northwestern State Demons and the Texas A&M Aggies. Keith, you have been designated as the man to give us the point spread on this. Tell us what the spread is, please, sir.
Well,
games like this,
or is there a spread? I mean, at week one, sometimes you have ones that don't have it. So, is there one on this one?
Yeah, there's not one on this one. And Texas A&M is a 99% favorite to win the game.
Very nice, very nice. All right, Chandler, who you got for this one?
Texas A&M.
All right, Keith.
Going for the upset here, and A&M's going to win by more than everybody else thinks.
Ro, what about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with ag people.
The ag people. Hashtag Gator
agricultural and military. Isn't that what A&M stands for? Agricultural and military school.
Most of them are agricultural and mechanical, I think.
Oh yeah, probably.
But they are very much military. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
All right, next one up. in our prediction lineup. Baseball powerhouse, the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers going up against the South Carolina Gamecocks. I'm going to blindly assume there's probably not a spread on this one as well, but Keith?
There is a spread, and South Carolina is a 29.5-point favorite.
Wow. All right.
Wow.
I like it.
I'm not even sure why they bothered to put those numbers up there.
Well, it's because Coastal Carolina Chanticleers are a baseball powerhouse.
Because Chanticleers, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Chandler, who you got in this one?
I think South Carolina is going to cover that spread relatively easily.
Nice. Keith?
Yep, going with the Gamecocks.
Bro, any disagreement?
Only because I want to say Chanticleers.
But you just said Chanticleers.
I know. I don't feel good about it, but I don't
you-
even know what a Chanticleer is. What?
You don't have to pick
rooster, bro.
Just say Chanticleer.
Oh. All right. Well, I'm gonna go with Gamecocks.
Yeah, this is the battle of the chickens, man. A Chanticleer is a kind of chicken.
I didn't know.
Going with the Chanticleers.
It is a name
Lose.
to a rooster, especially in fairy tales.
Chanticleer.
All right. So is that a South Carolina Gamecock sweep across the board there, Ro? Or are you going to go with the Chanticleers?
No, I just wanted to say it just for the record and hear my saying it. No, Gamecock.
All right. All right. Thank you. All right. We've got the Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders and the Vanderbilt Commodores. This is going to be an interesting one here. Keith, is there a point spread that you can give us?
Well, if this website would ever actually load. Apparently, they don't want to show us what's happening in this game because it's going to be real dumb.
I actually pulled it up here.
Vandy's a 3.5-point fave.
There you go. All right, so Vandy by 3.5. Interesting choice here. Chandler, what you got?
Oh, God.
Somebody watching a YouTube video right now?
Yeah, I just started something else. My bad.
What the heck?
Come on, Jay. What the heck?
Hey, I mean, it seems like Vanderbilt should win, but they're really bad. And man, give me the Blue Raiders. I think Middle Tennessee is going to do it.
Nice. Keith, what about you?
I'm going to go with Vandy for no other fact than it's in Nashville.
Which is also where Middle Tennessee is from.
Yeah, but
That's not true.
Okay, Murfreesboro, my bad.
Yeah.
it's in Nashville proper. So
Thank you.
Going with the old Commodores, but I'm not feeling great about it. But I'm going with them.
Yeah, being played in whatever their stadium's called, right at the end of the Natchez Trace Parkway.
I believe it's Natchez Trace Parkway Stadium.
Natchez Trace Parkway Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee. Ro, who you got in this one?
I'm gonna be an SEC homer and start that chant that we all love, SEC, and I'm gonna say Vanderbilt.
All right, so we got two.
It just
Vandies.
means more.
It just means more on this podcast. We got two Vandies, but I'm also going MTSU on this one.
Oh man,
Which is why I said nice when Chandler made that prediction. So,
Oh, I thought he said 69. Sorry.
I did not say that.
God. All right, this has been run out the clock. We're done early. Get out of here.
Football season is canceled.
We're so over this.
No, we've waited so
We're
long.
so over this. All right, the Skyhawks of UT Martin play in Columbia, Missouri. Why did I just blank on where Missouri is? I guess the Missouri Tigers. Keith, what are we looking at in this one?
There is no line right now.
No line as of this recording session. Wow. How will we ever know what to say? Chandler, who you got?
Missouri.
Keith?
Mizzou.
Mizzou. All right, Ro, how about you?
yeah, we're going Mizzou.
Yeah. That's a Mizzou sweep. Thank you and good night. All right, Central Michigan and Kentucky. I actually saw this one earlier, and I'm pretty sure there's no spread on this as well. So you can look it up if you want to, Keith, but I'm trying to save you some time.
It's not there. It's missing.
It's not there. The Chippewas and the Wildcats, a heated rivalry that we're all familiar with. Chandler, who you got in this one?
I've got Kentucky, but but I don't feel great about it.
All right, Keith.
I've got Kentucky, and I feel a little bit better than Chandler about it.
Ro, who do you have, and how are you feeling?
Satisfied. Mostly because I've picked Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Mm.
But I'm gonna pick Kentucky in this game, and I don't feel great about it either. But I don't feel bad about it. I guess badly about it.
Yeah, I got Kentucky, and I feel the best out of all of us because I have faith in Kentucky in week 1. And if you ask me about Kentucky in week 13, I'm going to say, oh, God, no.
And just think, Central Michigan gave us Butch Jones. So,
yeah, there you go.
Break by break, man. Break by
Central
break.
Michigan also gave us Dan Lefevre, one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time.
I remember
Which, of course, is French for the fever.
The fever. But what is Dan French for? Anyway, Austin P and Georgia feel confident there's no scoreline here, and I feel confident that it's Georgia across the board for us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Is Austin P a person or a team? It's kind of that whole mystery again.
Yeah,
I mean, it would fare far worse if it were just a person.
right.
But what if that person is like Paul Bunyan size and he has a good friend named? Well, I don't remember the
Stephen
ox.
F. Austin? We've already discussed him.
Oh yeah,
Bell the Blue Ox.
yeah. There it is. There it is.
Does anyone know who Austin P's mascot is off the top of their heads? Because they have a phenomenal mascot.
The okra.
It's not as good as the okra.
Close.
Oh gosh, it's Babe the Blue Ox, not Bell.
I like that. That's what seems to be bothering Chandler right
Oh
now.
gosh, I can't. I know what it is, but I can't think of it.
I'm pretty sure it's a Chanticleers.
So far, we've got-
Chanticleers is a Greek warrior.
yeah. So far, we got people playing against demons, against Greek warrior Chanticleers, against Chippewas, Skyhawks, and now the Austin P Governors.
I knew.
Governors.
The governors.
The Governors. God, mad respect to them for that. They don't stand a chance, but mad respect to them
No,
for that.
not at all.
All right, Keith, I want you to go ahead and get your Florida Gators fan hat on. Charleston Southern, the Buccaneers,
It's always on.
going up against the Florida Gators. Do you think that this is going to be a bit of an emotional thing for residents of Florida having to cheer against a team called the Buccaneers?
I don't think they have to worry about it. Tampa Bay and Gainesville are very far away from each other.
Is there a score or is there a spread on this one, Keith?
Absolutely not, but there probably should be.
All right, run down the board. Chandler.
Florida is going to win by so much that Marshall Henderson is going to run up to the 50 doing the Gator chomp.
Oh no.
Didn't know. Keith. Florida.
I don't
or
think
Charleston Southern.
The Gators.
Ro, how about you?
I'm gonna go with the dinking Dan Mullins.
Wow.
All right. Yeah, I'm going Florida as well on this one. Who else we have? We have Eastern Illinois Panthers, the Arkansas Razorbacks. Is there a spread on this one, Keith?
No.
Man,
I feel useless.
so many garbage teams here. All right, Chandler, who you got?
Woo Pig Suey.
in what might be one of the few times they feel confident in cheering that this season?
Yep.
Keith, how about you?
My greatest hope for this game is that Arkansas wins by 70, and then everyone's like, ooh, is Arkansas an actual dark horse to win the West? And then they lose the rest of their games.
I don't think anybody beating Eastern Illinois makes them a dark horse to win the West.
I'm just saying, man, football talking heads are
I
weird.
don't think that's how it works.
Hey, man, you beat anybody by enough people. Yeah, somebody's going to have the hot
Exactly.
takes.
Arkansas. Arkansas.
Yeah,
It's
Arkansas.
not my Kansas and it's not your Kansas. It's our Kansas.
Arkansas.
Ro, what you got?
Waltons. That's what I got. The Waltons.
We got to hurry up and end this. This is getting ridiculous.
It's so good. It's so good. All right. The last of the matchups, I believe, unless I'm overlooking something, between, I don't know, cupcakes or whatever. Basketball powerhouse Stephen F. Austin, the Lumberjacks, travel to Starkville against Mississippi State.
Not a line.
Not a line on this
Not a
one.
line in the whole bunch.
Chandler, what you think?
Austin 316 says Joe needs more cowbell. State's going to win by a lot.
All right. Keith, how about you?
Insert wrestling thing. State wins.
Ro, what about you? Sorry, my watch don't speak Spanish. To quote Stephen Austin, I'm gonna pick State to win this one and destroy Steve Austin. Because why have you not broken from the pack? Quote from Steve Austin.
That's good. My Steve Austin quote will be, I believe we should build casinos on the moon. But I'm quoting a character called Steve Austin from the show 30 Rock. Mississippi State wins this one. All right.
That's not what you can do for your country. What your country can do for you.
That's it. We all know that Steve Austin quote. Tennessee, West Virginia. The Volunteers versus the Fighting Will Greers. Keith, anything on this one?
Yeah. West Virginia is a 9.5 point favorite.
Yeah, West Virginia's going to cover.
West Virginia and the cover out of Chandler. Keith, what about you?
Oh, easily.
Bro?
Yeah, I'm betting the house on this one. West Virginia to cover.
Wow. I'd say that's absurd if I wasn't doing the same thing and betting your house on West Virginia to cover. The other game that we care very little about, Alabama and Louisville. I believe Alabama was like a 25-point favorite or something in this one, Keith.
Yeah, as of this recording, they are a 24-point favorite.
Wow. So I think we all agree Bama on this one. Any disagreements?
Yeah, the only thing I'll say is just that 24 in that game.
I'm not sure they cover.
24 is a little questionable, but Alabama definitely wins.
Yep.
Watch them win by 60 now that I say that. But
exactly. I could see it being them coming out and going, okay, everyone said, oh, maybe they have to rely on their offense more. And so we're going to do it, and just run up the score. But Ro, you said Bama as well, I assume?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Just making sure. All right. Ole Miss and Texas Tech. Keith, what was the scoreline in this one again?
Tech is a 2.5 point favorite.
Thank you, sir. Chandler, what you think?
I'm going to say give me the Rebels by 10 or so.
By 10 or so. We're going to get really official with this one. Keith, you?
Yep. I'm taking Ole Miss and to cover.
Ro?
48-43, the Ole Miss Rebels.
So you're going right at the spread. I'm
just going to say that if it happens, you're going to have to find a new co-host because I will have a heart attack.
Now, Ro, does that mean that they kick a game-winning field goal, or does that mean they're up like 48-7 and they pull a Hawaii?
The second part of your statement.
Then I will definitely
right.
I'll either be in jail for like physically assaulting Matt Luke, or I'll have
my brother Chandler. My brother is as a big of an Ole Miss fan as you are, and he calls it the fourth quarter Rebel slide. And he'll text me the video of slide, slippity slide as they're losing, and then it's an immediate him of having a very large beer turned upside down in his mouth.
No team has the ability to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Like,
oh man. All right, LSU and Miami.
Wait, you didn't pick it. You got to pick it.
Oh, I didn't pick it. I'm sorry, I didn't say. Yeah, I was going to say Ole Miss by at least a touchdown, but definitely.
Yeah.
Cover. I mean, I was going to say definitely covering the spread. That doesn't make any sense. Ole Miss wins it. Yeah. LSU and Miami. Keith, Miami was what, a 3-point favorite in that one?
Yep.
All right. Chandler, who you got?
I should pick Miami, but I just got a feeling. I'm going to say LSU. As much as I've been ripping on them.
After 2.5 weeks of just dogging LSU.
Yep. That's how it goes.
It's the voodoo. Somebody in Baton Rouge has a voodoo doll of Chandler right now, and they're changing his opinions.
They're just stabbing it in the heart repeatedly.
The Gator rituals are far-reaching.
The title of this podcast is "The Gator Rituals Are Far-Reaching."
live from the Gator Ritual.
Live from the Gator Ritual headquarters.
Keith, who you got in this one?
I got Miami, and I got them covering.
All right, Ro.
See, this is a weird game, right? I'm definitely picking Miami by at least 4 touchdowns.
At least 4.
At least 4. Not only do they cover the spread, they move the spread that much further. I don't think this is going to be close. I think old Mark Richt's going to show old Edo why you have to talk to be a head football coach.
Noted Mark Richt fan.
Yeah,
I do like Mark Richt a lot. I think it was a travesty they fired him at Georgia. But whatever. He's in a better spot.
Heaven?
He's going to a better place. He's going to a farm down south.
Think so when your dog dies. He's got a lot of room to run.
Oh, man. Oh, man. All right. This one was tough. I'm with Chandler in that you just never really know what's going to go on with LSU. However, I think that they start pulling out the voodoo in like a couple of weeks from now, and Miami wins this one in what is a very, very odd game. So I'm picking Miami. Auburn and Washington in such a far-off lands of Atlanta, Georgia. You know, Ro, you mentioned your friends growing up in Atlanta who were all Auburn fans and went to Auburn. It's very interesting because one thing I've noticed, if you go to Auburn, the city in Alabama, everyone's an Auburn fan. And then if you go to Opelika, Alabama, which is like basically they overlap
right
on each
there.
other.
Yeah.
As soon as you wander into Opelika, everyone's wearing Bama hats. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing. Anyway.
Roll Tide, Paul.
It's so strange. Auburn to Washington. Keith, what's the spread looking like in this one?
Auburn's a 2.5-point fave.
Auburn by 2.5, probably because it's a home game.
Yep.
Chandler, what do you think?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
I'll take. It just kind of feels like that's an Auburn win.
All right, going with Auburn in an uncertain victory. All right, Keith, what about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna take Auburn.
Bro?
I'm taking Harvey Updike and his killing of the Auburn trees. R.I.P.
So you're picking Bama? I mean, what are you?
No, I'm gonna pick the Huskies. Actually, I think the Huskies are gonna. They're actually gonna win.
Poison their
I
tree.
think they're gonna poison their trees. Thank you for getting my reference, Chandler.
Paul, I drove over there. I poured poison on those trees, and they're going to die.
Paul, one of the
Paul.
greatest. One of the
Don't
greatest 30 for 30s.
Paul's like, "Don't you know that's a federal offense?" And he's like, "Do you think I care?"
Don't
Paul's
care,
like-
Paul. Roll Tide, Paul.
Paul's like, "Nope, I don't."
Oh,
Oh
my
my
gosh. All right, so Ro, you're going with Washington on this one?
I'm going to watch. I think Auburn's going to be sleeping on them. They're going to be expecting a big fan crowd. They're going to have everybody there. Everything's going crazy. And then, boom, the ghost of Jake Locker returns. Touchdowns left and right.
Poor Jake Locker.
Jake Locker was terrible.
What a sad story.
They've got Jake Browning. He's better.
that's the only one I remember from college in Washington. That Jake Locker, and he was like their hometown kid, and then he got injured or something like that. That's been like 10 years ago though.
Yeah, who even knows?
I'm going to go. Yeah, I'm going Washington on this one. Not really necessarily because I think poorly of Auburn. I think that Washington is poised to be a playoff team again this year.
I can definitely see it happening.
Yeah, so I'm going to go Washington on this one in that statement match. All right, finally, guys. Well, not finally. Next to last in our predictions, Virginia Tech and Florida State talking about the Noles.
Oh, buddy.
Keith, what are we looking at?
Florida State is a 7-point favorite.
Nice. Chandler?
Yeah, give me the Knowles.
All right, Keith?
Knowles. 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 Knowles.
I didn't think you could even sing that to
Knowles.
Bro, how about you?
They don't call it talking about the Knowles for nothing. I'm talking about them Knowles right now, dog.
Oh gosh.
Great. Okay. So Knowles?
Knowles.
Love it. Love it. I'm going Virginia Tech. All right. And finally, the random prediction of the week is what we started the season off when we did these random predictions. We started off every time by going with the Riverside Rumble, the matchup between mine and Keith's alma mater, Belhaven University, and cross street rivals Millsaps College. In the opening matchup, Belhaven has won the last 2 matchups against Millsaps. Last season, they were down 29-28 at half, came back to win 42-37. It was one of only 2 wins for the Belhaven Blazers last year.
Thanks, sir.
In Division III football under Hal Mummy, now the offensive coordinator at Jackson State University. New coach Blaine McCorkle, a former letterman at LSU, and most recently offensive line coach of the University of Delaware. Go Hens, another great mascot. Chandler mentioned the Presbyterian Blue Hose earlier in the podcast as well. Man, we've had some good mascots in this one. So Belhaven's looking to win against their rivals for the 3rd straight year. Completely arbitrary. There's no spread on this one. Chandler, Belhaven, or Millsaps, Blazers or Majors, who you got?
Man, give me give me the Blazers. Let's do it.
Absolutely. Keith, what you thinking?
Give me the Blazers.
Blazers. Is that with a J or a G?
I see what you did there.
It's a D and a J, actually.
I don't know that I appreciate it, but I know
Give me Belhaven. Let's do it, fam.
Ro, how about you? I know that you have some ties to Millsaps.
Oh, I'm picking them Zaps, dog. Zap.
them Zaps.
Zaps. Majors.
Ro's going full on Lee Corso now.
Is that Tupelo High School? Dim Zaps? Is that what that is?
Dim Zaps.
Like the blue wave.
Yeah, they had this thing they call them dim blankets. Don't worry about it.
No. I'll take the majors. I don't know. You said the Belhaven only won 2 games last year. I'm pretty positive that Millsaps only won like 1.
Yeah. They certainly lost to Belhaven. So
yeah, I went to a couple of their games last year, and the only thing they got going for them is the beer garden, which is awesome. Because it's just fun to watch football and drink beer. So,
yep. The only downside is that the brewery that sponsors the beer garden is trash.
That's up for debate.
Yeah, I got to side with the alma mater at all times and go with the Belhaven Blazers as well. Gentlemen, we've made it through this opening week podcast. We have to real quick run down the line and give your completely unfounded predictions for the week. We're going to start with Mr. Chandler Rowland. Chandler, hit us with a completely unfounded prediction this week.
Scotty Phillips is going to rush for 135 yards.
Love it. Keith, hit us with something.
I'm going to stick with my earlier assessment and say that Will Greer throws for all the yards and wins the Heisman on the field after the game.
All right. Ro.
So I'm gonna double down off of my Miami call, and I'm gonna not say that they scored 4 touchdowns. They scored 5 touchdowns, a 5-touchdown victory over the LSU Tigers. No more swamp rituals for you, LSU.
Speaking of LSU, I'm also going to go with a prediction here and say that out of frustration at halftime, LSU benches Joe Burrow, and we see an almost near comeback out of quarterback Miles Brennan for the LSU Golden Bayou Bengals. That's their mascot, right? That's what we're going with.
No, that's
exactly it.
Woo! Ed Orgeron's going to punch himself in the jaw and break it.
Just
while chugging Red Bulls. While chugging Red Bulls.
There's actually going to be a hole in his jaw, so the Red Bull will just fall out. Stop recording.
That's the new theme song for Running Out the Clock. This is Running Out the Clock. Thank you for listening. Tweet at us all of your predictions, including your random prediction for the week, Belhaven or Millsaps, and of course whether or not the Noles going to beat The Hokies. I'm Joseph Craven. Who even cares about these other three guys?
Not me.
That's Chandler, Keith, and Roe. They're all dragging me down. Thanks for listening to Running Out the Clock.